Hey everybody, hopefully you can hear me okay. We'll get started with today's class in a seated position, like always. So if you want, you can provide something for yourself to elevate your hips, like a pillow or a block if you have it. Especially if you find that when you're sitting in a cross-legged or easy seated pose that your knees are elevated above your hips. Then be easy on your body and go ahead and elevate your hips a little bit. And as you get settled in for today's class, just feel yourself grounding down. So grounding down into either the floor or the cushion with your sits bones. Grounding down through your knees, through your heels. And using that grounding down energy to just float up. So not really efforting into sitting up super straight, but just kind of grounding down to float up. And if you're coming from work or busy stuff at home, take a moment with your eyes open to just look around the room and use your 5 senses. So notice maybe light and shadow that your eyes are attracted to, or maybe it's a pattern on the floor or the wall or the ceiling. And without forcing your eyes to go anywhere, just see if you can notice what your eyes are naturally attracted to. And other tools to come into the present moment are your other senses. So if there's anything you can smell or a sound that you can track, maybe there's a taste in your mouth. Just go ahead and, again, without judgment or without forcing yourself in one direction or another, see which sense is easiest for you to access right now. Sound, sight, taste, smell. Sensation, maybe it's the sensation of your hands on your legs or your feet on the floor or clothing on your body. You just kind of sit with that for a moment. Breathing naturally and just using your senses to come to the present. What's happening right now for you. And if you get distracted, just go ahead and follow that practice back. So bring your mind back to whatever it was you decided to track. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can start to bring your practice a little bit more inward. So you can close your eyes or keep them open and softly gaze at a particular spot around you. Bringing your focus inward and start to notice your breath without changing it, just checking in with your breath, seeing how it is right now in this moment. So some qualities of the breath can be light or heavy, short or long, warm or cool. Maybe it's coming into a certain part of your body that you feel it more, like your chest or your back or your belly, maybe your mouth or your throat. I'm not trying to change your breath into anything in particular, just noticing where it is right now. And let's begin to stay with our breath, but this time we'll actively participate in changing it. So we're going to elongate by forcing our exhale just a beat or two at the end. So natural inhale, exhale, push a little bit out extra with your diaphragm. And then natural inhale, so you're just making space for more of an inhale. Without forcing your inhale, you can elongate your exhale, make a little extra space, and find that your inhales and your exhales become longer and slower. So with minimal intervention, we're participating in our own breath. And see if you could feel your inhales expanding deeper into your abdomen. So if possible, maybe a lot of people will inhale and bring their belly button in. I want you to try to think about inhaling, making space in the belly, so allowing the belly to soften and the breath pushing deeper into your abdomen, expanding your belly. So inhale, belly comes out. Exhale. Inhale, belly softens and goes out. And exhale. Beautiful. Just stay with your own breath at a pace that works for you for a couple more rounds. Inviting a deeper inhale into your belly and your abdomen, and participating in a slightly longer exhale. Beautiful. Let's take 3 rounds of breath all together. So we'll all start with a big exhale, breathing out through the mouth, making lots of space. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. 2 more like that. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, maybe make a sound. Relaxing through the jaw. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Wonderful. If you haven't already, you can flutter your eyes open, coming back to the space. We're going to go ahead and move right into tabletop pose. So if you're sitting on anything, you can take that and move it aside. We'll start with some wrist rolls. So if you can sit on your heels. If that's not comfortable, find another way to sit. It's no problem. So we'll bring our arms out in front of us and roll our wrists. So rolling outwards to begin with, warming up the wrist joints. A lot of us are still working at home or doing home projects. If we're not working at home, running around with the kids, so just make sure you're giving your wrists a nice stretch. Reverse direction, so now we're going inward. Might hear some crunchies, that's okay. Just bringing this motion warms up our joints and it brings synovial fluid to the joints. That's the fluid that allows your bones to move over your joints without it being all crackly and whatnot. Very good. Let's take our hands and clasp them behind our back. Reach down. Exhale. Inhale, bow forward. If it's comfortable for you, you can sit directly on your hips in a child's pose. If it's not, you can elevate your hips maybe on something like a block. Whatever feels comfortable for you. You can also put a block under your forehead if this is not a comfortable position, but either way, I'd like you to rest in this position for a moment. So maybe roll your head back and forth on your mat or on the carpet, however you're practicing. You can sway your hips back and forth. Allow your shoulder blades to soften outwards. So you're feeling your breath really in your back space. So a lot of times we don't think about our back space. Take a big inhale and think about sending the breath right into your back and filling up that whole back space. And exhale. Do one more like that, inhaling deep into your back space. And exhale. Go ahead and bring your hands up in front of you and come up onto tabletop. So your knees are directly below your hips. Your hands are directly below your shoulders. Fingers are spread out nice and wide, strong grip on the mat. As we inhale, We'll drop our navel, lift our heart and our tailbone into cow. And as we exhale, lift the navel, look up into your belly, tuck your tailbone under into cat. So you got a nice arch in your back. Inhale through cow. Exhale through cat, using the full duration of your own breath, whatever pace that is. You don't have to follow mine. Full inhale, take your time getting to the peak of your cow. Heart shines forward, tailbone up, navel dropped. And exhale, lifting the navel, arching in the opposite direction. Now, if you want to flow with this and anything that there's going to be that might feel good for your back, whether it's wagging your tail from side to side, following your breath, or inhaling, circling the head and the hips, really take this time to warm up your spine in a way that feels good for you. Exploring your space, exploring what feels good to your spine. Not a lot of rules here, except that we're warming up our spine. And I want you to pay attention to your own breath and really flow with it. So letting your breath guide your movement instead of your movement guiding your breath. And come back to neutral tabletop. Tuck the toes under. Lift your navel up and into your spine. So we're just gripping our hands into the mat. Navel is lifted up into the spine really strongly. So you're getting a nice core workout here among arm workouts and other things. Big deep breath. And as you exhale, pressing the floor away from you strongly with your hands, lifting your hips up and back into your first downward dog. So go ahead and again, use this as an opportunity to warm up. So pedal out your feet, left, right. Maybe you wag your tail back and forth. Breathing nice and deep, strong through the arms. Freeform movement going with the flow, whatever your unique flow is. And when you can start to stabilize this position. So really pushing the floor strongly away from you with your arms, shoulders spiraling under, tailbone up and back. Maybe your legs stay slightly or very deeply bent, whatever feels comfortable for you. You want to stretch through the back of the legs, but you don't want to be hurting anything. Reaching your heels down through the ground. On an inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. Take a number of steps towards the front of the mat until your feet are under your hips and about hips width apart. You can measure that by putting 2 fists width between your heels. And then generously bending your knees, coming all the way down into a forward fold. If it feels good, you can clasp opposite elbows and gently sway from right to left. Again, we're warming up the spine here. Shake your head, yes, no. Make sure your neck is nice and loose. Ground down through your heels and lift up through your sits bones. And allow the weight of your upper body to bring spaciousness to your vertebrae. So between your vertebrae, you can feel a nice stretch through the back as the weight is taken off of being your back being stacked on top of itself. Now it's bringing space to itself using just the gravity and the weight of your upper body. Good. One more big inhale. Exhale. If you want to have your hands on the floor, blocks, either is fine. We're going to do a little spine waving here. So beginning with our forward fold, inhaling, lifting up through the lower back, waving through the heart, and exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rolling up through the spine. Exhale, rolling forward. Inhale, lifting through the navel, then the mid, upper back, head, and then lowering down. One last time. Inhale, roll up. Exhale, forward fold. Now generously bend through the knees, and then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll up all the way to standing, ending very last with your head. Great job. So we can come to the front of our mats for some Surya Namaskar A, so sun salutation. If you'd like to have your blocks handy, you can keep them at the front of your mat. So starting with our feet about hips width apart in mountain pose, so grounding down through our heels, lifting through the arches, strength through the knees. Sometimes lifting your kneecaps can help. Rooting down through the tailbone, lifting through the chest and through the crown of the head, reaching down with our fingertips. So really strong mountain pose here. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Inhale, strongly root down, reach to rise up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands on the ground. Step back all the way to plank pose. So sending your heels back in space. If your hips are too high, you're going to want to lower them while lifting your navel. If they're stinky, same thing, lift your navel up. Long through the back of the neck. We'll hold for just a couple more counts, so strongly grip through the floor below you. Inhale nice and deep. And as you exhale, pitch forward just a couple inches as you lower down all the way to the mat. Inhale, we'll root down through our legs and rise up using just the strength of our back. So if that means it's better for you to lift your hands up off the ground and pin your elbows into your sides, do that. Inhale up just a little higher. And then exhale, lower down all the way. You can rest your head on either side. Relax through your legs. We'll do that again, so bringing hands to either side of your chest. Root down through your legs. Inhale, rise up. Inhale up a little higher. And exhale, lower down. You can bring your head to the opposite side and fully relax here. Very good. Bring your hands all the way around to behind you, clasping hands, fingertips together. And as we inhale, we're going to root down with our pubic bone and our lower ribs as we rise up through our upper body and lower body, stretching our knuckles back towards our heels. Inhale up just a little higher. And exhale, lower down. Fantastic job, you guys. Last time, we'll clasp opposite hands, clasp behind your back. Root down through your belly and your pubic bone. Inhale, rise up through your upper and lower body. Knuckles reaching back towards your heels, long through the back of the neck. Big inhale, and exhale, lower down. Wunderbar. All right, so we'll bring our hands back to either side of our chest. Press up either through half plank into downward dog or full plank into downward dog. Take 3 rounds of breath here. Again, heels rooting down towards the earth, lifting through the navel, strongly pressing the earth away from you with your hands. On your third inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. This time, if you can, take just a couple steps up to the front of the mat. Into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Reach up, look up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll begin again. Inhale, root down, rise up. Exhale, forward fold with a flat back. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, step it back through plank. This time, you can come from plank through chaturanga into upward facing dog, and then into downward facing dog. Or you can come from plank into low cobra, into downward facing dog. So dealer's choice on that. Either way, we'll all end in downward facing dog. 3 rounds of breath here. If you need to get some tension out in your jaw, you can take a big inhale. And as you exhale, flutter your lips. Or do something like stick out your tongue. Lion's breath, that's always a fun one. Inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. This time you can take little steps to big steps, or you can bend your knees, look where you want to jump to, and jump to the front of your mat. So again, dealer's choice on that. Step, walk, or jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Long through the back of the neck. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Reach up, look up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Last time, warming up the whole body. Root down, rise up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Step or jump back, moving through chaturanga into upward dog or low cobra. Everybody meeting in downward facing dog. 3 rounds of breath here. Press the floor away from you strongly. Root down with your heels. Lift your hips up and back. Inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. Again, step, walk, or jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Reach up, look up. Exhale, hands come to heart center, and then we'll take a pause here. So without adjusting your hair or your clothes or your stance, let's take a pause to check in with our breath again. So option to focus on something else outside of the breath, but coming back to our neutral observation practice. So whether it's your breath, a sound, a sensation, coming back to that and just observing what comes up for you from a place of neutral observation, meaning there's not a positive or negative judgment ascribed to it. So my hair is in my eyes. I don't need to change that. It's not hurting me. And we'll just track that for a few moments so you can always come back to it if your mind is wandering. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and let that practice go. We'll come back to it several times over throughout my practice. And then we'll come back again to do Surya Namaskar B or Sun Salutation B for a little bit more getting into the lower body strengthening. Always fun. So again, starting with your hips about, or your feet about hips width apart at the front of your mat. Grounding down to rise up. So doing our whole body check-in with our mountain pose. So lifting through the arches, grounding down through the heels, Grounding down through the tailbone, rooting down, rising up. Strong mountain. On an inhale, we'll rise up. This time as we exhale, we'll sit back into a chair. So imagine there's a chair behind you and you're putting your behind right on it. If you look down and you can't see your toes, just drag your shins back in space and move your behind back like the chair is just a little bit further back than you thought it was. And then go ahead and lift your heart up. Nice strengthening through the back. Inhale up a little higher. And then exhale, release forward fold to the floor or blocks. Inhale, halfway lift again. Exhale, plant the hands. Step back to plank, and then move through your version of the flow. So either chaturanga to upward facing dog, into downward facing dog, or through low cobra into downward facing dog. Either way is totally fine. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, open your hip. Check in with your arms. If your right arm wants to sneak up, go ahead and press that back down so you're more aligned with the floor. So you're getting a really deep stretch through the side body, maybe through your hips. Circle your knee like you're drawing big circles on the wall. And then switch directions. And again, we're bringing fluid into the joints of our hips. That makes it a little easier to move throughout the day. Warms up our joints. And then stabilize, so bringing your hips from open back to parallel with the ground. Reach your right heel out behind you in a nice long line. Inhale. Exhale, bring your knee to nose, stretching through the back body. Inhale, back up to three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose. This time, bring your right foot forward. Drop your left knee. Wave your body up and then back into a low lunge. Big deep breath. And then exhale, fold forward. Bring the left knee back off the ground. Step the right back, and then go through another flow. Everybody meeting in downward facing dog. Big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Inhale, lift the left heel up. And then open your hips up, this time spiraling your knee against the back wall. Again, checking in with your left shoulder if it wants to sneak up. And then reversing directions. Great job. And then extending your left heel back behind you, bringing your hips now more parallel to the floor instead of open. Inhale, reach through the heel. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, reach. Exhale, knee to nose. Last time, inhale, reach. Exhale, knee to nose. And then place your left foot rather at the front. Drop your right knee, untuck your toes. Use the body wave again to come up. Reach up into a low lunge. And then take a couple breaths here. Relaxing down through your shoulders. Maybe take a slight back bend. And then exhale down, placing your hands on either side of your foot. Untuck your right foot. Send the left back. And then travel through your flow again. Exhaling. Landing back in downward facing dog. 3 rounds of breath here. Pressing the floor strongly away from you, sending your hips up and back. Heels grounding down. Inhale up to the balls of your feet. Step, walk, or jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Look up, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Pause here for a couple breaths. Wonderful job, you guys. All right. We'll do another variation of that just because we're getting the heart rate going. So inhaling, reaching up. Exhale, sit back in your seat. Again, looking back. Maybe your seat's further behind than you thought. Inhale, heart up just a little higher. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant your hands. Step or jump back. And then move through your variation of the flow, either upward dog into downward dog or low cobra, into downward dog, then 3 rounds of breath here. Again, option always to make sounds as you breathe, so, or whatever feels like the best release. And if you don't need a release, you can just continue to breathe through your nose, no problem. Inhale, your right leg comes up. Exhale, drop it open. This time, if you'd like, you can either stay there and draw knee circles or flip your dog. I can give myself a great amount of room for this. But stretching through your side body, reaching nice and long, grounding down through your left hand, and then slowly making your way back to 3-legged dog. Lots of control. Inhale, extend your right foot out. Exhale, your knee to your nose. Inhale, out. Exhale, knee to nose. Last 10. 3-legged dog. Exhale, drop your right foot down. Spiral your left foot open. And then come all the way up on an inhale to warrior 2. So sorry, my back is too, but maybe it's good for a demo. Nice and strong through the left leg. Left heel is rooting down and angled about 45 degrees towards your front of your mat. Tailbone rooting down towards the earth. Shoulders stacked directly over your hips. Sink just a little bit deeper. Flip your palm. Inhale, exhale, reverse your warrior. Bringing your left hand either to your nice strong back leg or around your body. Take a breath or two here. On your next exhale, spiral your arms all the way to the floor. Inhale your right leg back. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, bring your left leg up into 3-legged dog. Exhale, either stay there and draw knee circles or start to slowly flip your dog with lots of control into wild thing. Go long through the back of the neck, hips are elevated, and then slowly with control, bringing yourself back to 3-legged dog. Inhale, reach with your left heel. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, reach with your left heel. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, reach. Exhale, lift. And then plant that left foot down. Spiral your right foot down. Inhale all the way up to warrior 2. Check in with your stance. Make sure you're really grounding down and extending through your back. Your gaze is over your front, your hips, and your chest are one above the other. Take a couple rounds of breath here, sink a little deeper. Flip your left palm, reach it forward, and then reverse your warrior. Again, strengthening and straightening through the back leg. Sinking deeper into your front leg. And on your next exhale, spiral all the way to the floor. Send your left foot up and back. Inhale. Exhale, bring it down. Take 3 rounds of breath here. You can also come down to child's pose at any time that you want in your practice to take a rest. To take a big inhale through your nose, big open mouth exhale. Inhale, come up to the balls of your feet. Step, walk, or jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Reach up, look up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. And again, we pause here for our neutral observation practice. So not grasping onto any thought or sensation that comes up, just kind of seeing what does come up. Maybe you want to listen to sounds. Maybe you're noticing your hair or your clothing that feels a little twisted or something like that. Maybe you're having thoughts about not liking or liking something. Just kind of noticing it without indulging it or reacting. When you're ready, you can go ahead and release that practice and then move and adjust in any way that feels good to you. Wonderful. In the spirit of going with the flow, let's come to the middle of our mat. You can bring your blocks if you'd like, if you're tight through the backs of the legs especially. And a couple options here. So start with your feet wider than hips width apart. So try to take up a lot of space here. And you might want to take, rather than having your feet turned out, you might want to actually slightly turn them in so your heels are slightly wider than the front of your toes. That'll give your hips a little bit of space when you're doing this. And then either bring your hands to your low back, or you can clasp them and then reach them down. Either way, heart is extending up as we wave forward. Maybe your legs are a little bent, maybe they're totally straight, doesn't matter. And then move forward in a way that feels good for you. So you can hang out here, or if you want to do the go with the flow exercise, you can inhale up, waving through your body. Exhale, wave down. Inhale, waving up. Exhale, waving down. 2 more. Really moving with the pace of your own breath. Listening to the guidance that your body is offering you. And last time, we'll come back down. Hold on to our lower back, maybe bend our knees generously, and then slowly roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Wonderful. Let's come to the center for a quick balancing. Speaking of going with the flow, we can talk about trees for a second. They're always having to go with the flow. But they find their roots anyway, and they have the perfect balance of effort and ease to be able to, or the perfect amount of structure and flexibility to be able to have wild gusts of wind come through, and for the most part, they stay standing. So let's keep our feet about hips width distance apart again, and really ground down through the heels. So imagine you're growing roots straight through your floor, wherever you're standing. As you inhale, your roots grow deeper. And as you exhale, Maybe you're a little bit more flexible. Deep grounded roots and nice flexibility. So imagine that your one foot, whichever one you choose, is rooting down, while the other foot becomes then the branch. So we have the trunk and then a branch. And so now I'm finding a nice focal point somewhere in the room around me, ideally something that's not moving, and just softening my gaze at it so it's not like a hard focus, more like a fuzzy focus. And now I'm rooting down, so rooting down through my tailbone, through my heel, imagining my roots spreading out and clinging my foot tighter to the floor as my right foot easily comes off the ground. And I'm going to select where I want my branch to be today, either maybe something like just kickstand is enough of a balance. Maybe you want to try placing your heel somewhere on your calf, not on your knee, or above your knee. So anywhere above or below your knee is totally fine. So rooting down with my standing leg, rising up through my upper branches and my lower branches, and then deciding where I want my tree branch arms. Totally fine if you fall in and out of this, if you're really swaying. You never know what you're going to bring to the mat from day to day. And all things are fine. So good time to practice that neutral observation practice as well. Maybe you have heavy gusts of wind coming through your life right now. A lot of us do. And maybe you have to practice lots of flexibility that you didn't think you were going to have to practice. But here we are. And when you're ready, slowly and with as much control as you can bring today, move yourself onto the mat. And as soon as you hit, coming back wherever you land, into your neutral observation practice. So again, just noticing what's coming up in sensation through your body. I mentioned earlier, sensation through the body might be I have a hair in my eye or my mouth, or my clothes feel uncomfortable and I want to adjust them, or that stretch felt uncomfortable or something like that. Whereas like you might have a thought that's about something outside of what you're doing right now, or a judgment about what you're doing right now, either for yourself or for the class or whatever. Just practicing watching those things come up without responding, without reacting, without holding on to. And when you're ready, you can let that go. Adjust anything you want to adjust till your heart is content. And then come back into this practice of starting in our mountain pose, rooting down. So as you inhale, now the roots of, well, depending on what leg you just did, for me it's my right foot now, is as I inhale, I'm imagining roots being shot through my foot into the ground below me and getting in some big knotty mess that's like really holding my right foot to the earth. For me, these visualizations are very helpful for balancing. Other people, it might not be. It's fine. So rooting down strongly through my heels, floating up through my crown, remembering to strengthen my trunk while having flexibility to some degree in my upper. Finding my drishti or my soft gaze at something across the room, and then deciding where I want my tree branch. So again, kickstand, maybe you need that, a little extra support today. No judgment at all. Maybe you want to have a low tree branch. Maybe you want to do a higher tree branch. Again, anything that's above or below the knee is totally fine. And then pressing with dynamic tension, so we're rooting down and rising up. And then we're also pressing toward the center line with our foot and our leg. So that'll help our branch stay nice and flexible with our trunk. And then deciding where we want our upper branches or our arms today. Maybe you rest in prayer pose. Maybe you have some sort of low twinkling leaves. Maybe you decide you want to do a high prayer or open up and lift your gaze. Again, no right or wrong. All trees are beautiful trees. And totally fine if you fall in and out. We want to make sure we're practicing flexibility and non-judgment as much as possible. Also want to make sure we're breathing, so check in with that. Sometimes throughout the day, I find myself not breathing. I'm like, oh my God. So just check in with yourself now and again and remember to breathe. When you're ready, hands come back to center. And we're slowly disassembling our tree, remembering that as soon as we land wherever we land, we'll close the eyes and come back to our neutral observation practice. So not focusing too heavily on any one thing, but if thoughts are what's racing for you, or emotions are what's racing for you, or sensations of the body are what's racing for you, just pick a thing. Could be sadness, could be heaviness, could be energy, could be really whatever is present for you. And just noticing it. Maybe it's changed throughout the practice, maybe it hasn't. But what we're practicing is not changing things, it's watching things and being non-reactive, non-judgmental. When you're ready, you can go ahead and release. And then adjust. Okay. Let's come to the front of our mats again. And we'll start to make our way to, I'm just going to do a quick time check. We'll start to make our way towards the floor. Yes. And bring your arms out in front of you. Again, we're starting at about hips width distance, really rooting down through our heels. Hands out in front of us. If you have a block or something that you're using as a block, you can bring it out in front of you. And then we're going to do just a quick shoulder flossing exercise. I learned this from one of my online yoga teachers that I really like. You can bring your hands out in front of you. So you're bringing space between your shoulder blades, squeezing the block between your hands, and then squeezing your shoulder blades behind you. So we're really plugging our shoulders into their sockets. So shoulders out, space through in between your shoulder blades, and then scrunching your shoulder blades together. So we're flossing the shoulders in and out. You might notice that there's a lot of like crunching or grit in there. This is a good exercise if you're feeling that. It strengthens the connective tissue that's holding your arms in sockets, so they're not, this is a very, very flexible socket compared to other joints that you have in your body that share a similar structure. So it's good to protect that. Shoulder injuries are very common for athletes and others, probably parents, I would imagine. Anyway, do a couple more of those. Flossin, flossin. And then you go ahead and let that down. And then slowly make your way comfortably down to the mat. We'll bring our arms out in front of us, sit up nice and tall on your sits bones. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, coming all the way down to the mat. And once you're here, we'll just do 2 quick bridges. So heels are by your bum. Scrunch your shoulders underneath you. Press your heels into the ground to float your hips up off the mat. Clasp your hands. As you inhale, lift through your pelvis. Big deep breath into your belly. And as you exhale, unclasp your hands, unscrunch your shoulders, and slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll everything down to your tailbone. Relax for a second. And we'll do that again, so scrunching the shoulders. Pressing down through the heels to float the hips up. Clasping the hands underneath us. Breathing deep into the belly. And as you exhale, unscrunching, unfolding, unrolling, unfurling all the way to the ground. And then you bring your feet about the width of your mat apart, so just on the edges of your mat. Bring your hands out into a T, and then just flow. Move your knees side to side. Getting a little more stretch and love going to your hips. And then grasp your knees by your chest and just rock back and forth, massaging through your hips, your low back. And then lift your feet up ahead of you. If you can, grab your big toes. You can grab the sides of your feet or your shins if that's what's accessible. And open your feet and your legs and rock back and forth in happy baby. Do some nice big deep breaths. Flutter your lips, make kid noises, do whatever feels good. And when you're ready, you can slowly make your way into Shavasana. So we're coming to the end of practice. If you need something underneath your knees to release your low back, feel free to prop something under your upper legs, and that'll release some of the tension that comes in your upper back, or excuse me, your lower back. Or if you'd like, if you have something like a pillow or a bolster from your couch, you can lay that down behind you and lay so that your head and your back are up off the ground. Whatever way you find yourself in Shavasana, I'm going to do a few minutes of a guided relaxation, beginning with the head, working our way through the toes, calling out different parts of your body to relax. You can listen and participate, or you can just drift off. Either way is totally fine. This is a really restful pose. We're practicing corpse pose here. All right, so letting go of practice, letting go of movement, we come to the mat and we start to let go of any particular shape, of any effort, and we're moving into the most easeful part of our practice. Once you get here, as much as possible, get your fidgets out and adjust yourself so that you're comfortable, and then try to stay in that neutral observation practice as much as possible. So if you have the desire to adjust or to move something, just ignore it. And maybe not ignore it, but watch it and not react to it. So if you're following along with the guided meditation, begin with the crown of your head. And imagine that you can relax your whole scalp. So all of your hairs just getting a little heavier. Your hair is moving in the direction of the floor. Imagine your brain allowing gravity to take it all the way to the back of your skull. So it's resting right on your skull against the floor. Allow your eye sockets to soften so your eyeballs sink deeper in your head. Allow your forehead to melt down either side of your skull towards the floor, across your temples. Allow your cheeks to do the same, so melting down past your ears to the floor. Relax around your mouth, through your jaw. Maybe you part your lips and rest the tip of your tongue behind your teeth. Relax around your throat and your neck. Again, everything melting from towards the floor. Relax across the tops of your shoulders, the sides of your shoulders, through your upper back. Relax through your side body and your upper arms, softening your inner elbows, relaxing your forearms and your wrists. Soften your right palm and your right fingers, and also your left palm and your left fingers. Relax through your middle back, all around your shoulder blades, through your lower back and your side body. Allow the floor to support you so that your back can completely take this time off. Relax across the front of your shoulders, through your armpits and across your chest. Relax through the front of your rib cage and allow all of the contents of your abdomen to grow really soft. All of the connective tissue just going limp. Everything just melting towards the floor. The ultimate rest. Soften through your glutes and around your hip joints. Same thing, soften through your pelvic bowl, so everything from your low belly through to your pubic bone, just allow it to all melt towards the floor and take a break. Soften through your hamstrings on the top of your legs. Soften through the backs of your legs and the backs of your knees, your quads, your shins, and your calves. Soften your right ankle and your right arch and your right toes. Soften through your left ankle and your left arch and your left toes. And as you're laying, however you chose to lay, imagine resting your whole body about 10% more. What would that feel like? Wherever your mind has drifted, start to bring everything back to the sound of my voice, towards the sounds in the room in which you lie, back to the feeling sensation of being a body lying on the floor or wherever you're laying. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, start to wake up the body a little bit. Maybe deepen your breath. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and gently turn over to your right side. If you're using any props, you can move them out of the way. And just hang out in the fetal position for a breath or two, keeping your eyes closed or your focus inward. When you're ready, use the strength of your left arm to press yourself up to a comfortable seated position. That might be virasana, so knees together, feet apart. Might be an easy seat with legs crossed, hips elevated, whatever feels good. And I'll just close out class by feeling off practice together. So coming back to our seats, grounding down, rising up, not efforting more than we need to, softening in the places we need to be soft in order to be flexible. We'll take 3 rounds of breath together, beginning with an exhale. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Energizing inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. Keeping the gaze soft and focus inward, bring your hands to your heart or up to your third eye, and then bow forward in gratitude. We'll seal practice. Namaste.